All right. Hey guys, DJ here with Game Time Michigan, and I've been getting a lot of requests lately to put out some Pokemon related content, some more Pokemon related content. So I've got some ideas and things planned for the future involving our Pokemon content, and I did happen to I've jotted down some notes for some different videos on a notepad I've got here, and the first one that I kind of want to start off with, this is the first topic that I wanted to cover. Figured it's video worthy. I'd make a video about it because I do have a lot of people that they come into my store and they ask me like, "Hey DJ, I'm thinking about getting into Pokemon collecting. I'm thinking about getting into Pokemon. Where should I start? What's your opinion on how and when should how should I start with it?" So it's always that's a question that it's broad and there's a lot of nuance to it with a lot of different factors that kind of change where you should be depending on your situation. So I kind of wanted to make a video, kind of outlining and covering that. And so really quickly first, before I kind of dive into things, talk a little bit about myself. What qualifies me to make a video talking about collecting Pokemon or beginning to collect Pokemon, or really this kind of applies to any game, but we'll go with Pokemon since that's the question that I get asked the most, right? So me and my brother, we got into trading cards and trading card games. Specifically, we started collecting Pokemon when the first set came out. So the original base set. So I've been around the card world for 25 years now. I was in it from the beginning with Pokemon and got into Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, all the different ones, right? So I've collected, I've competed, and I've traded for 25 years here. In addition, I've had a couple of TCG related businesses. I had another business in the mid 2000s, another card store. We had a couple locations here in Michigan, and last year I opened up Game Time. So like I said, I've been around cards my whole life, and I've been around both sides of it, like as a player, as a collector, as an investor, all that, right? I have card related businesses, so I think just kind of the knowledge that I have and having been around and what I see just being and talking with people, being in the card store here every day, I think that kind of qualifies me to answer this question. So where I want to start with this, the beginning of your Pokemon journey, is when I get asked that question, the first thing I ask people is I like to qualify it, right? I ask them a couple questions to kind of figure out where they should be, because it's just like anytime you would look at like a normal investment, or like say you wanted to buy a car, right? It's not a one size fits all thing at all. And it's going to matter. It's going to depend on like your situation and where you're at and kind of what you're looking for, right? So where I go first with people is I ask them, well, have you thought about what kind of budget you want to be on it? Because Pokemon wise, there's so much to collect. There's so much new stuff coming out. If you don't have some sort of game plan before you start collecting, you will completely burn out. And unless you're a millionaire, you're not going to be able to collect all of it, right? So my first question is always budget. Where do you want to be? Some people are comfortable spending $500 a month on Pokemon, right? Some people are comfortable spending $50 a month on Pokemon. And the amount you want to spend every month on Pokemon, that kind of, to some extent, determines what you're going to be able to collect, right? For example, you're not going to be able to collect, $10,000-$15,000 booster boxes if you're only willing to budget like $50 a month on Pokemon, right? It doesn't work like that. It's not feasible. So I like to ask the budgeting question first, and that kind of helps determine, where you're at, like what kind of price point cards you can kind of look at in the market, right? So I like to talk about budgeting, where you want to be at budgeting, and that's like an honest conversation that you have to have with yourself. You don't want to, my advice with budgeting is the card game is always going to be here. The TCG is always going to be around. So it's just kind of like money you would take to the casino, right? You don't want to be spending more than you can afford to spend, right? because just like any stock or any investment or anything like that, you don't ever want to be in a position where you are forced to sell because you're financially strapped for cash, right? And just spending over budget or what's comfortable for you to spend, it can lead to lots of problems down the road, right? So budgeting, that's very important. I also love to talk about the different ways to collect. So there's really no wrong way to collect Pokemon as long as you're taking good care of your cards and your product that you purchase, right? And like the different ways that I see people collecting that come in the store here. You have your sealed collectors. They only collect sealed product, right? Of your sealed collectors, you have the subset of there's guys that only collect booster boxes, right? So every time there's a new set comes out, they'll pick up like a case of it or a couple boxes of it, right? Things like that. Sometimes you'll have sealed collectors that are looking for older boxes, and that's their whole collection is just sealed booster boxes. Then you have your other sealed collectors that they'll collect any of kind of like the special sets. So like UPCs, the ultra premium collections, they collect those. They'll collect like the different special collections that they release every so often. They'll collect ETBs, booster bundles, things like that. Right now, as I'm filming this video, it's August 24th, 2024, and we're seeing Pokemon 151 is the booster bundles for that they've exploded a decent amount in price here in the last couple of weeks. So you really see movement on all fronts for all sorts of Pokemon product price wise. And like I said, there's really no way to do it wrong. And on the sealed side, just make sure if you do decide that you want to collect sealed, you have enough room for it, because sealed product, especially the special collections, they take up a lot more space than either singles or even booster boxes, right? While we're on this topic of different ways to collect, before I continue along, I do want to mention that it's important too to figure out when you're budgeting, you want to figure out, is this an investment, or is this something you're just trying to collect to have fun with, right? And then if it's an investment, kind of where you want your time horizon to be at, right? Is it like, are you holding it for 6 months or a year? Are you holding it for 5 years? Are you holding it for 10 years plus? And then that kind of affects where you want to be at too with what you're collecting, right? But anyways, you can collect booster boxes. You can collect sealed product, right? All the special collections. You can collect singles. Singles is a big one too. There's several different ways to collect singles as well. Some people, they just like to collect the art cards, cards that look pretty to them, right? And there's a lot of cards that look really awesome. It has really awesome artwork. So some people just collect the awesome artwork that Pokemon has, right? Other people, they'll collect full sets. They'll do what's called a master set. So for a master set, for those that don't know, you collect all the commons, uncommons, and normal rares. They'll have a normal version and then a reverse holo version. So you get both versions of those, and then you have all your full arts and your secret rares as well. So and then master sets usually count like the easily obtainable promos. So I would always consider an ETB promo to be a master part of the master set. You can consider like the Best Buy and GameStop promos, those to be master settable too. Some people go really far and try to get every promo that existed at the time the set was out. So like if they did for Crown Zenith, there's some Crown Zenith tins with like Moltres, Zapdos, Articuno, the Galarian versions of them. Some people consider that part of the master set. There's EB Games in Australia. There you can find an EB Games Australia promo card. Though they depending on which one, they run $100 or more a piece. Some people like to consider that part of the master set, right? So there's a little ambiguity on the master set there, but at the very least, you're talking about all the commons, uncommons, and normal rares in their original rarity or in their original form, and then the reverse holo form too, plus all your full arts and secrets, and then, like I said, easily obtainable holos or promos like the ETB promos. So that's another way you can collect. The master sets are great too. You have your singles. Some people, just like I said, they like to collect specific cards. They like to collect. Some people only like full art trainers. They'll collect those, right? Some people only like the gallery cards. So they go after those. Some people only collect the art set cards. So from the new set, for example, like the Twilight Masquerade, Perrin, is it Perrin? I think it's Perrin. Yeah, Perrin and the Growlithe. Where you're taking the picture and you kind of put the cards together, and it's like art with that. People collect those, right? And they look really cool. And then on top of single collecting too, you have your people that they collect slabs, right? They're just graded cards. And then for your graded cards, some people, they only collect already graded cards. Some people go for like full sets of graded cards. Some people will find a specific graded card and try to collect like PSA 1 through PSA 10 of it. So that's like having a PSA 10, PSA 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So all 10 of the PSA grade levels of that specific card. And then you have, as far as grading goes too, you have people that they'll try to collect the pack fresh cards, either pull them themselves or trade for them, and then send them in to get graded. Because if you get lucky on one of these modern cards and you get it at raw prices and it grades a 10, you've made a decent chunk of money on it, right? So there's a lot of different ways to collect, and that's kind of, it comes down to a personal preference. Are you a person that likes to rip product? Do you like opening packs, right? If you like opening packs, maybe what's right for you is to buy sealed product like booster boxes and open up the packs and collect the singles, right? Maybe build out full sets that way. If you just want cards that retain value very well and want singles, graded cards might be for you, right? If you're just collecting cards that you like the artwork of, you can do that. There's a lot of very cool art in every set, so that's an option too, right? The most important thing to remember with it all is you don't want to get overwhelmed. There is a lot of cards out there, a lot of product out there, and Pokemon has been around a very long time. So, there's a lot of modern cards, and you got your vintage modern, and then your true vintage. So there's a lot of cards to choose from, and that's another way to collect. People will collect every printing of one card. I see Charizard's the most popular one. I have a lot of guys that come in here and they're working on trying to get every Charizard ever printed in English, right? So that's another way to collect too. But again, the important thing with that is there's a lot to do, and it's always nice to kind of have like a goal and be working towards that goal, right? Because that'll help you. One of the things that'll happen is you can burn out collecting, and you want to try to avoid burnout. And that kind of leads me to my next topic here is collecting Pokemon. If you're doing it for whether it's a financial side or just hobby and enjoyment side, time, it's just like stocks, right? Time in the market beats trying to time the market, right? So you'll see some people that'll, Sword and Shield full arts dropped by 20%. I'm going to go buy them all up now, right? Or things like that. So overall, for the most part, most Pokemon cards in like the last 5-6 years, they've held pretty firm or went up in price. So the longer you've had them, the more you've probably gained equity wise on them. And that's just one of those things, like time, just having the cards for a long period of time, it's better than trying to time that, because nobody has any clue what the future holds for trading cards on the investing side of things, right? Same thing with the stock market or any kind of financial investment. Nobody has a clue what the future holds with that, right? You can make an educated guess based on past behaviors and past history, but nobody knows for sure. So it's all speculation to some level, right? Might be an educated guess, but it's still a guess. So yeah, the time in beats timing. So that's part of the reason why budgeting is important too. If you set yourself like a monthly limit, you're not going to go over it, right? And you're not going to have a month where like you go crazy, right? And maybe you buy too much and then regret it, right? Regretting spending money that you shouldn't have. Because you see a lot of collectors, hobbyists, collecting enthusiasts. They get into it all gung ho to collect, and 12 to 18 months, people kind of they go hard at the beginning, and then they kind of burn out collecting, right? Maybe they spend too much money, maybe they just acquired too many cards too fast and just can't appreciate them, or for whatever other reason, right? They just kind of burn out, and you see collectors, a lot of collectors exit the hobby like 12 to 18 months after getting into it. So that's something, if you really enjoy it, you want to try to avoid. So you want to try to do what it takes to kind of minimize burnout on that, right? And having a budget helps with that, not going over your budget, having goals, like clear goals, like what you're trying to collect, where you want to be, what's your next card that you're picking up, what's like your, have like a big chase card or like capstone card for your set you're trying to collect, something like that. Or like if you collect sealed product, maybe like a team up era box, or maybe like a vintage kind of box, have that be like your long-term chase goal, right? So you're always chasing something. And then, that'll help with the burnout. And then as we go forward, and if you're like the people that are very vintage collectors, they already know this, but it's very important when you get product, especially sealed product, to establish a provenance. And what a provenance is, for those that don't know, it's basically the history of the product, right? Like product that comes from the distributor that winds up on my shelf that you buy, right? There's a history there, right? Like, it came from, it came from my distributor, dropped on my shelf here, I sold it at game time, and you bought it from me. So that's something like that. That's a very strong provenance. It's something that it's very unlikely to ever have had a chance to be tampered with or handled incorrectly or anything like that, right? Whereas you'll see some, if you see like random card or random box for sale, like online or Facebook Marketplace, a lot more questions come into mind, right? Like, how many people have actually touched this? Because every time, like, the more hands the product goes through, and the more unknown there is with anything, there's more room to tamper with it, right? And we'd all like to think everybody's above board with collecting in the hobby, but the reality is, when there's money to be made, people will, I don't want to say scam, but like try to find a shortcut to get there, right? Like, every week I see kids come into my store with fake cards. Excuse me. And, they trade them from their kids at school or whatever, right? Sometimes people have fake packs. I've had people come in here try to sell me fake base set booster boxes, some fake Japanese boxes, EV Hero boxes, right? I see fake cards. I see stuff like that, right? So you even see like on the big the big card shows, right? There was one somewhat recently where somebody had, I think it was towards the beginning of the year, so not super recent, but somebody had bought like a team up box and bought it straight from a vendor. Vendor swore it was good, and guy started opening it up on stream, and it was a fake box. All the packs had been resealed, the cards had been taken out, and they were resealed with fake cards. So, and again, like a team up box, it was like $2,000 at the time. So it's always, you have to protect and insulate yourself as much as possible as a collector, an investor, as a buyer for that stuff. And that's where like the provenance comes into line, because if you find a product that just came off, if I got it off a random guy off the street and I don't know where he got it from, it's a weaker provenance than if I can say, oh yeah, I got this box right from my distributor, and if I have a date and time that I got it, right, and a year and all that, and I can show that it's like, yeah, it's been sitting on my shelf for 2 years. That's a lot better than like, yeah, I don't know where it came from, right? Something like that. It's a lot less likely to be tampered with. And I mean, the most important part of this all is just have fun with it. If you actually enjoy what you're doing and enjoy what you're collecting and like the art on it and all that, you're much more likely to keep doing it. And at the end of the day, hobbies are hobbies for a reason, right? You want to have fun with them. And if you were collecting as far as the investment side of things, the most important thing to remember for that is you need to try to remove your emotion from it all as much as possible. you see product run up in price because there's people have a fear of missing out on certain things, right? And then when you see Sword and Shield's a good example, right? They're full art cards. They're on a little bit of a retrace now, right? They're down probably like 20% or something like that. So people are starting to panic, like, oh no, Sword and Shield's going to zero, right? You don't want to be emotional with that and sell when everything starts going down. Just looking at it logically, if you extend your window out, your time out, the Sword and Shield singles now are still worth a decent amount more than they were at the beginning of the year. Right? Most of the singles got close to doubling in price. And that's just price increases like that's not sustainable. There was always going to be some amount of a retrace, right? So again, that's where, like, when you buy the product, if you're looking at it from the investment side of things, when you buy the product, you want to have your game plan with it. Like, let's say I bought a Paldea Vault box, right? And my plan when I bought is like, all right, I'm holding this thing for 5 years. Whether it was $90 today or $160 today, that doesn't change my plan, because my plan when I bought it was still to hold it for 5 years or whatever, right? So just kind of having a game plan always, like, even if you're just collecting for fun, it's always important to kind of have a game plan in what you're collecting. And that way it'll help, like, the oh no, the world is ending, the room's on fire kind of thing, right? Because again, overall, every set today has held similar or increased in value over, in the last 5 years. So I don't see a reason why things like that, that trend won't continue. I think it will continue. But that's really a topic for another video. So yeah, just beginning the journey. Just make sure you have fun. Make sure you budget. You want to, like I said, you want to have a plan. You want to know how you're collecting, what you're collecting, what your game plan is for it. Is it just kind of like collect, have fun, let it sit around forever? Would you want to cash out at some point? Is it like, oh yeah, I'm gonna collect for like 10 years and kind of see if what I can do for my kids' college fund, turn it into my kids' college fund or something, right? Do what you can to control the burnout. You don't want to go like too hard on it. I would say that if you're like visiting card shops or buying things online literally every day, that's not sustainable long term for most people. So be aware of that. And then most important is to have fun, but also very important is whatever you're buying, whether it being like single cards or sealed product or whatever, it's very important to make sure you take good care of your cards. There's acrylic boxes that hold booster boxes. You have acrylic cases for the ETBs and other things too. For your singles, you have sleeves, you have your top loaders, you have like these zippered padded binders. Anything to kind of keep them in good condition. Just because maybe your cards are like $5 cards now, but they might not be $5 cards in 10 or 20 years. Who knows, right? So the better condition you have them in, the more they'll be worth down the road. Plus, they're just better to look at when they're in better condition, right? So, yeah, however you collect, make sure you take good care of your product. Also, too, depending on where you're collecting, your cards over time might, if there's a lot of humidity in your air, your cards over time might be prone to bowing slightly. So you'll want to take steps to prevent that. So that's going to be one of those like little desiccant bags and kind of have it in like a sealed off box is probably the best way to take care of that. Just absorb the moisture out of the air so that your cards aren't warping, getting a little bit of the U shape for the foils. But again, it's just depending on your location. If you're in like a dry, warm place, that's just not going to happen, right? But if you're where I'm at, where we have like humidity and we have a real winter every year and all that, it's more likely to happen over time. So you want to take steps to prevent it, especially on higher end singles. But looking at my notes, I wrote some notes down that I wanted to talk about. I think that about covers it. So yeah, I want to thank you guys all for watching. And then if you have any like comments or suggestions about future videos, reach out, let me know. You can post it down in the comments below this video. Make sure to, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe to the Game Time channel as well. My goal is to kind of grow that, and I'd like to do more content like this. I've got a Pokemon podcast planned. Hopefully in the next week or two, I can knock that one out. And then I've got a couple more Pokemon videos I've got planned too as well. So I'm looking to dive into those. Probably sometime next week I'll be able to put out another Pokemon video, so kind of excited about that. And then of course make sure to comment down below too. Share the way, if you are already a collector or you have any questions, make sure to post about it, like share how you collect. And then if you have questions, feel free to reach out. If you think there was a topic that I should have talked about today and missed, let me know, and make a comment down in the comments for that. So I think that's about it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day. See you in the next video.